Nice to see
How
you
are
again.
you? So, can you say to the people how you pronounce your name?
It's Frides,
Frides.
but if we are friends like we are, it's Fritzi.
Fritzi, and that's a lot more easy to say.
Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Patrick. Just okay.
I'm Eleni. Nice to meet you, Patrick. I think we do fit. So we got here Astra. Just really gorgeous, like all of your games, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So you have designed this game,
Yes.
right? Together.
Yes.
I have both the designers here.
What's your?
I have both the designers
Yes.
here. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So I can see that it's about constellations,
Exactly.
but I don't know much more. What could you tell us about this game?
So the game is about, as you said, discovering constellations, but the main idea is that players together observe and ultimately discover the constellations. However, it's not a cooperative game, it's completely competitive, and don't get fooled by these pens, it's either not a roll and write game. These are only for marking things like on your player board and on the constellation cards. So, as I said, it's a competitive game, but you try to discover the constellations together, because if you take part in a discovery, then all contributors get something.
Okay.
So, if you are the person who completes a constellation, you are the one who marks the final star, then you get to be the discoverer and you can get the card itself, which is good because you will have the chance to use the ability later throughout the rest of the game. But the other players who assisted you get to pick instant benefits. They are called boons, and they grant you resources and other very beneficial effects.
Right. So it's a competitive game.
Yes,
How many players can play?
2 to 5.
Do you know the best sort of player count?
Well, I like the two-player version very much because it adds a neutral player, but it's not a real dummy player because you have certain control over it. So the script says how you can target a certain constellation for the dummy player, but once it has its target, then the active player has control over it, and the active player can tell how it's going to mark the stars on the constellations. So it's rather a tool than just a dummy player running around in the game.
Okay. All right. What was the initial inspiration for the
Inspiration.
theme and for the mechanics?
Yeah, it started in 2020. It were the early in the COVID
Early
era.
pandemic
Yes,
times.
yes.
Lots of thoughts during those times.
Yeah. I returned home from a busy day, and I found myself just gazing upon the stars, and I was wondering. I played a lot of games. Why shouldn't I design one?
Okay.
Why should I design
That's a
one?
very
And
cool
yes,
thought.
and I realized there are stars. And after this day, I started to research about the myths, the mythology of the stars.
Right.
And yes, I have found Ptolemy's Almagest.
You have found what?
Ptolemy's.
Ah, Ptolemy's,
Yes,
okay.
he's an ancient Greek Egyptian astronomer.
Yeah.
I have found his work called Almagest. So these 48 constellations, they are real constellations based on Ptolemy's work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so this
So
is
it's a
the inspiration.
little bit educative as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. People can learn about the game.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to tell us about the mechanics or?
Sure. So you might know our previous games. So
Yeah.
if anyone else doesn't know our games, we have very heavy Euro games,
Exactly.
and
Yes.
we try to do something that lowers the entry level, but also keeps these classic Mindclash style depth of decisions.
Yeah.
And it seems that we achieved this. So it's much lighter. It has less rules. I can explain it in 10 minutes during the demos,
Yep.
and it plays in around an hour if you play it correctly and you also have some experience already. So I think we can proudly say that this is a Mindclash game, but it has a much lower entry level, so even families can play it, which is, I think, a great thing after what we've been doing. I think what it makes unique is that the motivation system that encourages all the players to jump into one constellation and do it together. Because sometimes I just jump in because I need a certain instant benefit, and I try to encourage the other players, say, hey, jump in so we can get the boons sooner. And if I want a certain constellation because of its ability or because of the element, because we are collecting the elements as well for extra victory points. So this is that's why it's highly interactive, because if I want the card, then I can see that other players have already started one constellation, so it's easier for me to finish it.
Right.
And maybe you can do that to just put 1 or 2 stars on one constellation, and therefore you try to encourage other people. So hey, let's finish it so I can get the instant benefit much sooner. And that's why we use these pens. And so whoever finishes the card, the constellation gets the card, and then the other players who assisted in descending majority order, they can get to pick a boon.
I think the game is very easy to learn, but really hard to master it really well. So after the first match, we are going to see its depth, the game's depth.
Yeah, usually the first game is about exploring the game itself, and the second and the third game will be, now I get it. Because the other tactical layer is the sphere board in the middle. So you can do 2 kinds of actions during the game. One is the observe action, when you spend the stardust, and therefore you can mark stars on it. And the other kind of action is the rest action, when you not just only fill up your pouch with stardust, but you can also get back the exhausted constellations. The exhausted constellations are the ones that have unavailable abilities because you already used them. So you can get your already used abilities back if you take a rest action and the active sphere matches with one of your exhausted constellations. So for example, if I have this is exhausted, and if I take a rest action now because this is a matching element, then I can get it back. It's really hard to time it, but if you can time it well, it gives you an edge in the game.
We have one question from chat. We have 2 questions from chat.
Cool.
One asks about solo mode expansion.
We haven't thought about it because it's really this game builds really on the interaction of other players. So we haven't really thought about it. If there is a demand, then we can give it a thought, of course.
And then the other one, this is very untypical release for Mindclash because it's straight to retail, right?
Exactly, it hasn't been kickstarted. We try new things, and since it's really small and there is nothing really in the game that can be kickstarted, in the regular ways. So we decided, let's try new ways and let's try to do something straight to retail.
Right. So everybody can get the game.
Yes, it's available right now in Essen. We already had a pre-order campaign, and once Essen is done, then we start to fulfill the pre-ordered copies as well. And then in November it will be released.
So people that are not at Essen and they didn't pre-order,
they
get
have
it
the chance
after
to get it
November?
from November. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I have a question of my own. This is has blue tones, this box, while all the other games have like purple. Is that right?
Yeah, we get that a lot. Those purples are not intentional.
Okay.
It just somehow happens.
Right. Okay.
So there was nothing.
I like this a lot. I'm just wondering if there is something behind that. There's a difference.
Nothing
of color.
intentional.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this is a game for families.
Family
for
Plus, yes.
Family Plus,
And
yeah.
it also, we try to do it like for our audience, the Mindclash game fan base, to like it. So this is not that heavy, but I think, and I really hope, and based on the feedbacks we already have, they like it, and this is much lighter. They can even introduce their hobby to new people. So hey,
Yeah.
if you like this, then come over and play some Anachrony next
There's a
time.
lot more heavier games from Mindclash to
So I think this is a great gateway game.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played it, but it looks amazing. And I love that you guys do very well, like the heavy games. And I like that you're branching out to lighter games, and as well, like Septima is gonna be a little bit on the lighter side as well, right?
A little bit,
Not as much as Astra.
but
I
it
guess,
but its audience is targeted
Yeah.
more like the regular
Yeah.
audience.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for the
Thank you for-
presentation. This looks amazing. You guys check it out when it goes to retail. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
very
hope
much.
you're enjoying the show, guys.
Thank you. You too.
And I'll see you guys later.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you.